CT.
Yeah, time differences are weird.
Yeah, so I think 7 p.m. CT was actually 2 hours ago because I'm currently in CST.
Yeah. Anyways, Eris is still not here. Eris, where are you?
It's okay.
My
It's
co-host,
okay.
we're supposed to be with me right now, but it's fine.
It's okay. It's okay. No worries. I can answer some of the chat questions, but I'll probably pick the ones that are quicker to answer just in case Eris does come back really quickly.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you know what, chat? We'll just have a little pre-question time a little bit here. Any simple ones. Nothing too heavy or nothing too big right now because we have those questions lined up. Until Eris comes back, we'll just have that little bit of a warm up down the line. Let's do that.
Yeah, I like Leo the Rick. I like your questions. Very cute.
Can you? It's all the voice lines. It's always the voice lines.
I stream a lot too, and I feel like that's the most common request. But every time I stream, it's at past 11, 12 o'clock at night, and my roommates are all sleeping. Favorite or most memorable line you've done? The alt line is not my favorite. Probably. So you are afraid of me. That's my favorite one. Just because it sounds cool. And it's not played enough that I'm incredibly annoyed by it.
Yeah, the little threat and the bravado in the hint of the voice line there.
Yeah, it helps when we know what the line's gonna be for, and that one was pretty clear from seeing what the line said.
It does hype you up. It does hype you up for the fight, definitely. Especially when the ult is charged. Then things get really hard. I'm just like, all right, these guys better be afraid now.
Yeah, I like that line a lot. Out of all of the deliveries right now, I think that one's my favorite. How do you like your coffee? I don't drink coffee. It's too bitter for me.
Yo, right? I can't handle coffee.
Space. Fuck. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Apologies for being late.
Yeah, coffee sucks.
No worries.
Coffee sucks. I take tea.
Terrible.
Tea or water. That's my go-to. But if I need something to like down the greasiness, soda's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Seems everyone in the room that's supposed to be here are here. I think we can officially begin.
Yeah, just real quick. I did voice Sato in Gundam. Yes, I'm surprised anybody recognized my voice in that because he was only on screen for a very short amount of time. But yeah, no, let's please begin. I'm so sorry.
I've already pressed.
I was just very intrigued by that one.
This pre-warm up is already big enough content. Anyways. I'm gonna just clap just to make sure we know when the cut in YouTube is. Alright. Hello everybody, welcome to KQM Official. My name is EggsD, your kind host and the head of Twitch for the community. And with me, I also have my co-host, Eris. Never mind,
Hello.
Eris. There we go.
I'm right here.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead. Just introduce yourself very slightly, and then we're gonna get
Hi guys.
Guest of honor.
If you don't know me, then what the fuck are you doing? I'm here all the time, literally all the time.
Yeah, they are here all the time. I'm scared.
Indeed, I'm in your walls, by the way.
Okay. No,
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Twitch chat.
Okay. Well, that's.
I am literally in your walls right now, guys.
Okay. All right.
Just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Well, that's my co-host. Very scary indeed, but it's fine. They don't bite. And we are here today to interview our very most honored guest down here on our spot. And it is Molly Zhang, the voice actor of Seele from Honkai Star Rail, and we've all talked about Seele in KQM as well as being a really amazing DPS, but it's another good honorable thing to have the voice actor herself be in the spot. So with much excitement and a little bit of anxiety on my side, I would like to welcome Molly Zhang. Hello, Molly. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm good. Good to be here. I'm very excited. It's my first interview for anything Hoyo related, and my first interview for Seele, so I'm very excited.
we are as well. Now, this is gonna be we're gonna try to make it a little bit more just a lighthearted conversation that is full on interview. But we do have questions that asked by multiple staff people from the Geek Camp side and and normal chatters in our community. And some of the questions might be a little bit some of the questions can be a little bit daunting at first, because like some of these people are also very theorycraft heavy. It is weird that like a theorycraft heavy community is actually doing a really nice casual interview. So this is a very, very big nice change of pace. Also a very first experience, so I hope I get a lot of experience down the line from this.
Yeah.
All right. Without further ado, I think we can just start talking a little bit about the whole role with your role in Seele. First of all, I would like to ask before anything, like how was voice acting for Seele when you got into HSR? When you looked at her, were you actually like when you looked at her character design of Seele, were you like you were destined for that character, or were you just like I'm gonna have to work myself a little bit into it kind of situation?
Oh, oh, absolutely not. So when we got auditions, we got the whole batch of characters, and I auditioned for every single female character, and I didn't get booked for anything. I didn't get shit. And then, I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. No, you can.
Yeah,
it's totally
fine.
fine.
Go for it.
Eris just said the F word like literally 5 minutes ago. I think that's kind of out the bag.
I auditioned for every single character, and I didn't get booked for anything. And I was really sad because a lot of the times when we get auditions, we don't have the name of the character, we don't have the franchise, we don't really have any of the information, because they want to keep that on wraps so that nobody spills development and whatnot, although like Hoyoverse games tend to have an interesting pattern with that. But for me, I auditioned for every character that I could, even the ones that I knew I wasn't going to fit. I read for Branya, I read for Natasha. I knew my voice and personality wasn't going to fit those, but definitely still wanted to try. And after a week after I submitted everything, I didn't hear back. And I think a week after that, so 2 weeks after I auditioned, I got another email back from the casting director asking me if I could read for this character that wasn't on the initial set of auditions. And I didn't recognize who this was at first because her character design was so different. And so I did some digging up because we didn't get the character name. So I was doing some digging, and I found out her design was a lot more similar to the game prior to Honkai Impact, which was Gun Girl Z, I believe. And her design matched that a lot more, so I kind of had a better idea who I was reading for. But no, initially I don't think... I tried auditioning for everything, it didn't work out, and then I did book the one that they sent to me privately for me specifically. So while I don't think I was destined for the role in any way, because there's no way to know, I do feel very, very, very fortunate that she was the one that they sent to me, because out of the whole cast, that is the one that fits me better. I use my normal voice for her. That's how in character it is for me.
So like maybe it wasn't destined for you in your POV, but like to Hoyoverse, they're like, I think we found it. I think we found one. I think we found one for the future character down the line.
Yeah, I don't know if they had Seele developed in mind for future references, but I was very surprised to get that one privately rather than have it sent through mass auditioning processes. But I'll take what I can get. So
I mean, considering that Seele was an early onset character, not to mention carrying over from Honkai Impact the Third. I don't know. I'm pretty sure you know this, but like several characters from Honkai Impact Third are also in this game. So. But it is also very weird that like Seele that we know in Honkai Impact Third and the Seele we know here are kind of in a very different sense. I think Eris can go a little bit more details regarding that. Just a
I can go into a lot more detail.
Well, just a little tad bit. Like give it like a minute squeeze.
So how much do you know about the like Seele from Honkai Impact Third?
Not too much. I've watched all of the YouTube videos on her, but I haven't played the game myself. I did try. I think I got to like level 30 and then I quit because that game was too hard for me. It's a little bit confusing. I also suck at those kind of games. I really like turn-based, so this one worked out perfectly. But I know briefly her background. I know her background with Branya in particular. I know that she's very different. I know about her, both her personality or just Veliona, and I think that's about it.
Okay. So yeah, so it'd be more accurate to say that Seele in Honkai Star Rail is essentially just Veliona, because their personalities are a lot closer together. Realistically, what I think is like the most accurate description is Seele in Honkai Star Rail is essentially Honkai Impact Third's Seele grown up, but with Veliona's personality over Seele's.
So they just fused in this version, I guess.
I've heard that being the theory. I honestly, as a voice actor,
yeah.
Hoyo hasn't told us what the actual thing is, so I'm open to listening to whatever people's theories are. I just can't confirm anything on my end because I don't know what Hoyo intended for her.
Mm-hmm.
I have some theories, but I think we can go more into that
later down the time. Like, if you want to get like a really huge long lecture with Eris is perfect at telling the story of the Honkai Impact Third. So if you're missing a few tidbits that you were interested in, you can definitely go talk to them later, like after. So okay, on to the next part, right? So you got privately contacted saying that you might be the one for Seele. So you say hooray, and you go to the recording booth and you sit down and you're just given these lines that you need to read out for the characters. How much input did you have over those like certain lines? And if you was there any lines where you kind of said, maybe if we can just say it in a different way or like in a different little wording, it might fit Seele's character a little bit better? How much control did you have over that?
Essentially, we didn't have any control over personality, because I don't think anybody knows the personality of the character better than Hoyo. So we kind of just followed their instructions on everything. If there was any lines and words to be changed, it would be more for localization's sake. Especially if it's a line that I struggle reading out naturally, or if usually the director will have a good eye for it, and like before I even read the line, they can kind of like, oh, let's hear how it sounds, and then if we need to tweak it, we will. But generally, Hoyo has a very, very clear idea what they want with their characters. I think it might be something that's revealed slowly down the line. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But we try not to touch characterization because there are staff there that monitor the situation, and we don't want to step on any toes. Voice actors in general are just there to portray what their vision is. I think maybe 2 years after recording, there were some times where I'd be like, instead of saying darn, because this game is very age friendly, so instead of saying darn, I'd be like F word or damn, I wish I could say that instead because that feels more in character, but obviously we can't do that. But that's the most I'll change with the character, because I have a potty mouth, so I'll let it slip during sessions a lot, and it's generally okay, but we just don't touch the character personality too much. If Hoyo feels like they want to change it, we'll amend to that during the session, but that is entirely their area, their territory.
Actually, I do have something that just piqued my curiosity from your answer, and I just want your honest answer on this. Like, so you were given lines, you don't have a lot of things to say because you don't know the characterization immediately, but was there like a moment where, as you kept reading the lines, you just kind of suddenly got it, clicked into who Seele is actually, or did that process take a little too long for that to get there, and until like a director had to correct you time to time?
I think after the first, so I recorded in very, very large chunks in the beginning, and it wasn't very long to figure out what kind of personality she has in this game. It's more so, kind of going back to the previous question, more so even if we have, I think Hoyo is very good at keeping her in character. She's one of the few characters that her personality is relatively developed even going into the beginning of the story, and most of her change is just also a natural progression with the story. The only parts that I struggled with were trying to not make her sound too mean. I didn't want her to be a one-dimensional kind of rudeness, but I wanted to preserve the ruggedness that she has from growing up in the underworld, and that was something that we wanted to do. Instead of being a generic tsundere, we wanted to do something that was more she's gone through a lot growing up. She's still going through a lot. She's very loyal to Wildfire and her family. And kind of what can we do with that to make it not be so boring? And so we don't want her to show up and yell at you and just have it be done. We don't want her to show up and be like, Bronya, you're the best, and then have it be done. So we tried giving her some sensitivity here and there. And that's what my hope is going forward with her as well, is to not just be, she's here to yell at you or talk about Bronya, and that's it.
I just imagine Seele just coming out like, Bronya, you're the best, and just literally stealths out. Techniques out of the situation.
I love her relationship with Bronya, but I do think she still has a lot independently, and but one of her best points, I will say, is still her relationship with Bronya and how she grows once she meets Bronya. And there's a lot of history there that I'm sure Honkai Impact fans have more information on. But for me, I view everything from the lens of Star Rail specifically, and her relationship with her family, with Wildfire, is something that I personally really enjoy reading more about, acting on. Yeah, I just really like Wildfire. I love that they all have that red band on their arm.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen photos of Luca, and then that trailer that just revealed, and he's got one too. So I'm really excited to see where that goes.
And the homey feel of the We Are Wildfire.
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah, I definitely agree with those things. All right, go ahead, Eris.
So again, another question about the voice acting itself. So have you ever been nervous while recording voices? What has your experience generally been while actually recording?
Yeah, especially on a character in a huge game such as Star Rail and Hoyoverse, especially.
I don't think I've ever not been nervous recording for her. So the question, you can flip that around. For the first whole year of recording, I was nervous as hell going into every session because even more so than any other character, Bronya, Seele, Himiko, I know that they have history. I know there's an existing fan base. So that's really terrifying to think about because they already have Japanese and Chinese voiceover. So the English, no matter how good or how bad the performance is, we're still gonna get shit on because it's not the OG language that people are used to when they play the game. So I was already really, really, really terrified going forward. Every single time I recorded, I would listen to what bits and pieces I could of her Honkai Impact form. And then it took me about the first 3 sessions doing that I was like, this is not anywhere close to what her Impact 3rd character is. I don't think this is an approach that I can do. And then eventually I heard her Chinese voiceover and I was like, wow, this is not a Honkai Impact 3rd at all. So I don't know. For me,
you were given Chinese voice acting before, like you recorded your own?
Not so much. We don't get a reference to listen to. It's more so like when we were recording combat lines, we listen to Chinese for the timing because we have to match how long the animations are, and the Chinese always records first, so we can match the timing for that one. Except her words were a lot less because Chinese there's a lot more meaning in each single word than English. So whereas my outline takes like 50 million hours, hers is like blah, 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 done.
Okay.
All right, that's actually
fair enough.
All right, so go ahead.
If so during the voice acting, have there been lines where you were like, she wouldn't really say this? Did you really get to have input on specific delivery or just like the nature of the line itself?
A lot of the times, even if the line looks like it's not something she'll say, the voice actor will sell it to be more in line with her personality. A lot of the time, the director back then would say, this doesn't look super in character, but if you can sell it to me, we'll keep it. So generally, I'll give it a first read, we'll do a second read to tweak things up, and then if it really just isn't sounding right, or if it's really not flowing with the conversation, we just kind of rewrite it with a localizer on the spot. We try not to do that because when we do that, I know that the main team will have to approve everything again, and that might require pickups down the line. But kind of going back onto it, we try to change as little as possible because this script comes to us finalized. The only thing we should be changing are things that can make it sound more natural and flowing conversation and stuff like that. I do remember the one line I had the most trouble reading was the wah wah wah, that line, because I could not figure out a way to deliver that without sounding like Branya, you suck, or like you're so annoying, and it was a lot. That one was a lot, and I was hoping I could convince the team to change it into something else, because the Chinese and Japanese don't say wah wah wah, but whatever delivery I gave them, because we do multiple takes and they get to pick what take they want. Whatever take they went with is the one they liked the best. So,
okay. So, following a little bit like split decisions and ideas, but you previously told us that like your voice, as we just hear you right now, is just literally just Seele. You are just talking normally, and that is just Seele itself. Does the personality of yourself match Seele as well, or is it just the voice you're talking to here? like what do you feel like there's like a bit of a mirroring image between her, or is that like something different? Do you have to like pick up inspiration from different scenarios?
Well, I didn't think that we had many similarities when I was going into it, but I started streaming after I got cast for her, and I'm told often now that there are a lot of similarities by the voice actor for the male MC and Danhan, Nick and Caleb, because I stream with them a lot. But I don't remember where this meme came from, but I talked about paint at some point, and then Seele sent a text message about paint, and that was just a really funny coincidence. It has nothing to do with personality. But for the most part, yeah, no, I don't know. Caleb calls me impatient a lot. I personally don't see too many connections there, but I'm told otherwise. So I think this is something that needs to mostly be viewed from an outside lens. I don't know. It's hard to evaluate yourself in that context because it is still a character that you're portraying. I will say that her voice is my regular voice. We tried a bunch of different pitches and stuff for the audition, but they just wanted the regular voice. So there's also that too. I could be judging this incorrectly. Maybe I'm a lot more similar to her than I think, but off the top of my head, I can't find that many similarities.
Now that you say it, it would be quite hilarious if the voice actor for the male Trailblazers just has a little bit of a tendency to just look through trash around the streets every time you hang out with them.
No, I guess. So Suling, the voice actor for Bailu, did an interview where they also asked her that same question, and she does also believe that we're very similar to our characters, and I think I can see that for the other actors. Mm-hmm. So maybe there is, and that might be a question for someone else to evaluate me on, because I also think Caleb is very similar to the male MC, and if you were one day to be looking through trash, I would believe you. I would in fact not be surprised. Nick and Danhan are not similar, but I guess there are a lot more similarities when I'm thinking about it from someone else. But for me, I think you might have to ask somebody else, because the way I view my personality is different. I don't know. That's a rough one.
And I will hold that question to you. That might be in the question banks for the future voice actors.
I was doing puzzles for in Shinra Luofu.
Yeah.
And I don't remember, someone said something about like how slow we were at doing puzzles and how dumb we were in like a fun way, but I was like, shoot, maybe canonically we do have similarities. Who knows?
Well, we know. Well, again, I think it's a good question bank that we can look around. Maybe, okay, how about this? If in the future, perhaps we interview a different voice actor and they officially come out with that question and they answer it, we'll be sure to send out that regard. And
yeah, I will say I'm relatively short-tempered when I'm annoyed, so I guess there's that too. But yeah, no, save that question for another voice actor for sure. Especially if you ask Nick and Caleb, because they know me better, I'm sure they'll give you plenty of comparisons. But I'll just be like, no way, I don't do that. What are you talking about? I'll just deny everything. So
wait
don't
a minute,
ask me.
That actually does feel like Seele to a certain degree.
I would never. What do you mean? I have a bad sleep schedule, if that counts as any similarities, but there's that.
Oh, well, okay.
She has a line where she hasn't slept in 6 days. I haven't done that long, but it's pretty bad.
Oh, yeah, no, not sleeping for that long, not good for your health.
I'm sure also by the end of the interview, you, the viewers, can determine if I am similar to the character or not.
Okay, well,
that is a group activity that we could have at the end. towards the end of the interview.
Oh,
We'll pose that question to you again.
Oh yeah.
Ask our viewers.
We can poll it too. Now that I think about it. Anyways, go ahead, Eris.
So, following up on that, so it's not a secret that there are different playing speeds in Honkai Star Rail, right? You have the regular game version, and then you have the sped up version. How did that work? So, did they ask you to record specific lines that were already set, or were they just like deliver the core point in a sped up way?
So for some actors, their 1 times line was written to be shorter in the 2 times line, and they could milk it out a bit more, put some more acting on it because it's less words. But for mine, they kept the full length of the line. So the first time we did it, we was just like, okay, do we just say this faster, or what do you want me to? And so the first few deliveries for that were not great. We went over the cut every single time because it was so long. And eventually, also Hoyo has this thing where they don't want alt lines to sound too shouty, at least back when I recorded, because I was one of the first people cast for the project in that initial batch of auditions, and so we recorded back in 2021. It's been a really long time.
Geez, that long?
Yeah, and especially since like I'm relatively new to, not new, I'm newer than a lot of other people to voiceover. So 2021 to 2023, I've had a lot of improvements since then. So every time I hear that voice line, I'm just like, oh, can I redo it? But we did. Obviously, we can't go back and redo it because it's up to Hoyo. But for the ×2 voice line, they were very, very clear that they did not want to change the words of the voice line. I think if you would like to interpret it as such, there is meaning in that voice line that I'm not going to say anything about, but depending on how you interpret the voice line, they wanted that word for word verbatim as the 1 times speed voice line. And so when I was recording it, it was just a matter of making it faster, because we see in the Chinese version there's less words. They didn't erase any words on hers either, but there are just less words. And same with the Japanese, there's less words. But I think both me and the Japanese voice actor had to speed it up quite a bit to fit the timing for the ×2.
Yeah, I've played in both, and I can definitely say that did happen. They did speed up the Japanese voice line without changing it too much.
Yeah, and this is all sped up through the voice actor delivery, not any artificial means of like just making the audio faster.
Does sound very natural.
Mm-hmm.
Which I particularly like, because a lot of the time you'll notice that they'll just speed it up artificially through software, and it will sound very just garbled most of the time. But in Star Rail, they actually went through the effort of recording separate lines for both speeds, which I think just adds a lot more quality of life to it.
They are, and I will, as like a little trivia fact, I think the best delivered alt line for Seele across the board is actually in her character trailer at the very end, when they have that really fancy scene with her and the butterfly wings. That alt is probably the best delivered one that we've had. Too bad we can't use it for the game, but that's my favorite delivery of it.
Oh yeah, that was really good.
Speaking of which, can you share any omitted lines with us, or is that not a thing that you can do? Like, were there any lines that you wanted it to make through to the final version, or were there not any?
I can't say any specific lines because I don't remember off the top of my head, but I will say that the story was very different back when we first recorded and we recorded everything. There's a lot of things that I record that I don't know if it made it to the final cut or not, because I don't remember what I've recorded. We've recorded so many hours of Star Rail at this point. This is easily the most I've recorded in any project ever, because I voiced an anime lead this season, and that's like also a billion hours of recording, but Star Rail is still easily most hours I've ever recorded, and I don't know how much of that content sees the light of day. Even when I'm playing through the game 2 years later, I'm just like, when did I record that? Did I say that? I don't remember this at all. Some of the key Branya scenes I'll remember, because I remember how I felt at the time of recording. But for the most part, I see these lines like, I recorded that. at some point in my life. I don't remember when, but yeah, I can't remember any specific omitted lines.
Actually, like, okay, how? Actually, now that you speak about it, how did it feel when you actually heard your own voice in the game? Because as you said, like you said many times, that you are playing the game as currently right now with an E6 Seele, no less. We're gonna come back to that one a little later. But...
Yeah, I get that question a lot, and I feel differently every time I think about it. So, I voice Mulan in Smite, and that one, hearing my voice for the first time was really weird because it doesn't sound anything like me. And then Seele, when I heard her for the first time, it also felt weird because she sounds exactly like me. So there's two sides of the spectrum there, and they both make me feel like, whoa, I don't know which one I would prefer. But definitely with her, because I play the game so much, and she does her ult so damn much that after the first 5 minutes, it's not weird to hear my voice anymore. The first time I heard my voice in the beta, I didn't get into the beta, but Nick and I, Dahan's voice actor, because we've been friends for a very long time, we watched streamers play. We were fishing through every streamer trying to find someone who's playing in the English dub, and we listened to it together, and I cried a little bit because it was really special, and it was a very nice moment. And I'm really glad I got that over with off stream, because if I cried on stream, that would have been really embarrassing. But it was really cool. I like that. I don't find it weird anymore because of that alt line, specifically because of that alt line.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that alt line, we've already kind of like expressed this, but I think this is something that needs to be brought up with the fans, because the fans are also dying to know. So, disappear among the sea of butterflies, illusions of the past, has triggered a lot of memes, numerous memes, quite a many memes that I can technically show you on the spot right now if you want to. But like, how does it feel? What do you feel about the community's reception about that? Like, I know how you feel, but like, when the community was like reacting to memes around it, how did you feel about that? Was that like just funny to you, or was that just like, you know, there was a little part of you that was kind of like, I wish I could have done that a little bit better, or like you just can't control it?
I wish they used the trailer take of that alt line, because that one was, again, my favorite. But I'm glad. So the reason why I like the trailer one, because that one was recorded the most recently, so it's at your most improved versus the 2021 version of the line. Which honestly, I'm so used to hearing that now that I don't mind it either. I was not expecting it to get memed that hard, because I did watch the reception during the beta, and it was a lot, but it wasn't this much. And then as more people played, I remember I was streaming last night and I rated Giguk. And as soon as I was like, before I rated, I was like, oh, I wonder if he's playing in the English dub. It would be really awkward to rate him as the English voice actor if he's not playing in the English dub. And then as soon as I opened his stream, I heard my alt line. I was like, all right, he's playing the English dub.
There we go. Here it is.
I get tweeted that line a lot. I'm very glad that this is the line that they have chosen to meme on, because truthfully, what does this line mean? I don't know what this line means. Disappear among the sea of butterflies. There's not even that many butterflies swirling around. There's like a few, but there's not that many. So where's the sea?
I mean, there is a sea of butterflies.
What is illusion?
I mean,
you can see it on our light cone.
Not enough. There has to be more.
Molly,
We're gonna
Molly,
concede.
we can get into that later.
Okay.
I have theories.
Have you actually seen the memes? Like, you actually seen the memes turned around Seele? Because considering how powerful she is in the game and how much a lot of people just abuse her abilities, there is a lot of memes, right? Like, I can show you a few right now and just see if you see them or not. Like, so if you see on the screen, I don't know how much the latency you have right now, but like these are some memes that I picked up. Just
I know, I'm very familiar with the meme. I'm very active and lurking in the community. So we're doing, all the voice actors are doing a Streamily event where we sell prints, and I have an artist working on right now, and it is a meme. It is based off a meme. I was really worried. I was like, once the idea was conceived in my brain, I was very worried that it wasn't gonna be well received, because it's, you know, usually for selling autograph prints, people do these gorgeous splash art styled paintings and whatnot. And I was like, but what if I just do a meme? And that'll sell, right? But whatever. Once that's, I wish it was ready in time, but once that's ready, I will show you guys and you will understand everything.
But yeah, every time I look at these memes, it's always giggles, because like I see that in real life right now. Like, yes, it's a turn-based game based on me.
Yeah.
Like you see like the
I've seen
action
it.
order of just Zeelas and the enemies just mortified. This like, okay, what's going on? DJ Khaled's another one.
I haven't seen that one. That was pretty good.
I think this one is like my favorite. Just how it feels playing Zeela. My turn.
I want you to remember this one whenever I come back to tell you more. But just remember, this is my favorite one. I'll tell you that right now.
And then
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Because the Bronya Zeela synergy just way too good for its own, right? But I will see her to say again, like solidify the fact that like there are memes, but none of them are negative, and we just absolutely love the character for what she is.
Yeah, no, I love it. I
so
love
good.
that for this character.
It's just that like we admit that sometimes the overbearing amount of the alt line coming over our eardrums.
No, I love it. Give her more. Give me more.
Have you considered like a second one? Like,
I have contributed to it at some point. I made some tweet. I don't remember what it was, what I wrote anymore, but it was like 15,000 likes. And I was like, all right, people like the memes.
Oh, people love the memes.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen them all at this point. I'm ready. Someone give us new ideas. Give us more memes.
Maybe if we find new synergies. Maybe if we find new synergies with Zeela, which definitely will come. Actually,
yeah, I'm loving the Zeela Bronya ones. Those are really getting to me.
Zeela Bronya one is there, but also Zeela Silverwolf is actually coming up to be another really good duo. So maybe we'll have something with that. Yeah, because
I lost my 50-50 on Silverwolf, so I don't have her yet.
No.
Rip. I'm currently struggling with the temptation to pull her.
Okay, I guess I'm gonna keep quiet.
Very painful.
I guess I'm gonna keep quiet because I'm the one who has her.
Eggs is legally not allowed to talk about his pulls because unfortunately for everyone else, Eggs happens to have a little bit too much luck.
I mean,
I'm sitting here with E2 Japard and Bailu's Light Cone, which I have no use for, and this guy is over here just being like, wouldn't it be nice if I lost pity to this character because I want them? And then the next day, that happens. He gets exactly.
It actually did. It actually did. When I was looking at the thing, I was like, man, I kind of want to have Yanqing in my roster. And what if I just roll for Jing Yuan's banner and Yanqing comes instead? Literally 2 days later, that actually became a reality, and I've become a prophet.
Oh no.
And as you know, people with good lugs in the gacha market tends to buy a lot of irritation and jealousy.
Oh, I know. Trust me. We'll get to the E6 Zeela, but I saw a lot of that.
Actually, speaking of polls, sorry, Eris, but I want to ask this before you get to the next one. I know what you want to ask.
Yeah, no worries.
Like, your polls, I've seen your Twitter. I've seen the receipts. I know Alejandro Saab is also E6, and I know you have also E6, your Zeela. And I know I'm not going to ask how much you spent, but I am going to ask, was it worth it?
So, I played Genshin before I got cast for Star Rail. I played Genshin during beta, and I knew that if I ever got cast for a Hoyoverse game, actually, if I get cast for any gacha, I was planning to max out my character because I am unfortunately a gacha victim. I played a lot of gachas in my time, which sucks because I'm also bad impulse control. So I got my very first gacha I got cast for was Revelka in Final Fantasy War of the Visions, and I was really excited. I was saving up for my character. I was really excited, and then she was free. She was a free unit, so I was like, well. Never mind. There's nothing to E6 or nothing to max out here.
I mean, your wallet is saved. I think you should be happy with
that. I know, but it's the experience.
No, Eggs, you don't understand. There has to be a certain sense of satisfaction.
Oh no! You guys are so lost into it. I can't believe it.
But so when I got cast for her back in 2021, I was like, yes, my time has come. And then I waited past 2022. The game didn't come out, and then finally 2023 the game had come out, and you would think I would save some money for it, but I didn't because like the game's never come out. So the game came out and I was like, okay, let's start saving. And then She was the first banner character, and I was like, all right, never mind. We're just gonna use what we got. And I remember asking, or no, I didn't ask him at the time. I asked him afterwards. When I was streaming my polls, I just started streaming. I didn't have affiliate, I didn't have subscribe, I didn't have my donation set. I had nothing. I was rolling with cold hard cash with Hoyo's money that they paid me for voice acting. And we rolled. I was I tried everything. I was like, oh, let's go to Boulder Town. Let's hold hands with Branya. Let's hold hands with Hook. We'll hold hands with all our friends, and that'll give us EggsD. It was not very lucky. The polls were pretty cursed. Not as bad as Alejandro's polls, because he lost every 50-50.
Okay, but here's the thing. Have you tried Silverwolf's ritual? Because she did come up with a ritual.
When I was rolling for Zila.
No. But I mean, have you tried it recently?
Oh no!
Draw the pentagram of all silver wolves. You see those things in the memes. Oh no!
You should try it and pull for Silverwolf and see how that goes. You'll E6 her on the spot.
I have nothing left for Silverwolf. That's gonna be I might do it for Luca, because that's the next one I want. But gosh, this game is too expensive. No, my E6 journey was bad. I was stalling, trying to like think of things to do while I was recharging on my other monitor whenever I ran out of money.
I mean, if it was bad for you, imagine how much tears Alejandro Saab cried that day.
But he's rich. He has donations. He has subscribers. People were donating to him. I had a lot. So once I had EggsD, Alejandro rated me on Sayu on his account, and he came into voice chat, and he was like, "Hey, how did it go?" And then we told him. And it was like telling dad all the crimes he committed at school that day. And we were like, yeah, so I rolled for E6, but I lost like 3 of the 50-50s, and I got like E50 billion hook and whatnot. And he was like, do you have donations on? And I was like, no. And he was like, do you have a subscribe? And I was like, no, I'm not an affiliate. And he was like, what are you doing? With the disappointment in his voice, I'll never forget it.
Alejandro's just like, oh honey, what have you done?
But that is why when I did the C5 for her, S5 for her light cone, I did it with streams money. I see Eric in chat. I used Eric's money, but Twitch or like my stream paid for essentially all of it. Because I was trying to stream as much as I could to get affiliate right before I did her Litecoin stream, because I pulled for her Litecoin C5 on the very last day. And so I used all the money made for Twitch to pull for that one, and I got 2 copies on my last pull. So that one was very successful. And then when, Alejandro told me not to roll for her Litecoin, but I did it anyway. And then when he came into chat this time, I was like, I did it! I used Twitch's money! He's like, oh, you did it. But then I told him, but I have affiliate too! And he's like, oh, okay, now I'm proud of you. It was an interesting situation. But no, we definitely, he and I are gotcha victims to the core. For sure.
The power of
money.
I
saw him roll for Jingyuan. It was, we are not lucky.
Brutal.
Daddy Hoyo gave us a debuff, for sure.
I just imagine just like a Seele voice actor being really nice to the citizens of Boulder Town just for an alternative motive.
I hope we like none of us ever get cast for another gotcha character, because Alejandro and I, we will give the money back.
This is the friendship money. This is the money you pay for being friends. No.
I posted a tweet how because Alejandro posted he had pulled Jingyuan's light cone and also the character maxed out, and I had done that too. So I posted a tweet that was like, yeah, but the first 2 banners of the game and both English voice actors have maxed out the character and the light cone, and people kept on asking me if there will be more voice actors doing that. Please do not make them do that. This is entirely an optional thing. I promise Melissa Font is not going to be pulling her character and maxing it out. I don't know if she plays the game or not, but this is very much an Alejandro and I are down bad kind of situation.
Okay, all right.
One of us.
We will gladly accept you into the line of gotcha gaming, but all right. I think we should shift the.
This is my life now.
Let's calm a little bit down. All right. Now Eris is going to ask you a question, but now we're going to slowly drift away from voice acting as Seele for a time being. A little bit more to you as a voice actor. So Eris, if you can take it away.
So this one is a double question. What made you so interested in voice acting in the first place? Did anything inspire you to pursue voice acting as a career?
Yeah, so I I talk about this on my stream a lot because I feel very strongly about this. Generally, when you ask a voice actor how to get into voice acting, they'll tell you you need to be a stage or theater actor, and it's very helpful. But for me, I worked in healthcare. I am a whole Asian person, and my parents were very insistent that I go into healthcare. The day after I graduated college, I got a job in healthcare, and I was immediately really depressed because I hated it. And that's how I got into voice acting. I had played Fire Emblem all my life. That was the first game I ever played. And if anybody knows Fire Emblem Blazing Sword, that game is not voice. And part of the joy of getting into voice acting is to giving each character your own take on what their voice could be. It's a lot of fun. And so for me, Fire Emblem 7 was that first game, and Lane was that first character. So I used to play that game a lot, add little silly voices to it, and then I came across a fan dub on Reddit for a Fire Emblem fan dub, and I was like, whatever, I'm depressed, might as well try it out. And I put my Apple, those wired Apple little earphones? I did one of those at the time, and I got cast for one of the characters, went into the Discord server, realized everybody was 13, and left immediately. And then I just started doing my own stuff that I like to do, because honestly, it's the thing with voice acting is if you just have a casual interest in it, it'll take you a long way. You would be surprised how much I didn't know anything about voice acting. I was actually very much a sub-elitist because I watched all my anime in Japanese. But I got really into it once I started doing it myself. I did not realize how hard it was. I didn't know I had a lisp. I didn't know I had all these speaking insufficiencies that would make acting very hard, because voice acting is very much about how clear your enunciation is and how you can keep it that way while making your reads sound natural. But what interested me in voice acting was entirely because of my life of a gamer. I just wanted to be involved in that field, but I'm too dumb to draw, and I'm too dumb to program, and whatever else you need to do to be part of the field, and I didn't have any interest in streaming at the time. Nothing interests me except for voice acting, and I don't have a passion for acting, so I was very surprised that I got so into it. And then I guess that is how passions develop. I'm often told by my friends, because I love voice acting now. I do directing and other stuff too, but I only want to do voice acting. I don't like working behind the scenes anymore. But I'm often told by my friends, like, oh, you're so lucky that you found voice acting. Like, people will go their entire lives without finding things that they're passionate about. But it really is just trying to do other things. I was very unhappy in healthcare. I worked as a nurse. I still work as a nurse, but I'm planning to quit to go full-time voice acting soon, and that's the ultimate goal in my life, is to be able to spend my time and still make enough money to survive and do what I like to do. It's a very simple dream. I'm sure everybody has the same aspirations, but on the same side, you don't want to disappoint those Asian parents. So I feel like I've done my job there, and now I'm finally free to pursue what I actually want to do. And Fire Emblem got me into voice acting, but I'm still here, and I keep getting cast for things, more and more things every year. Last year was my first named role in an anime. This year is my first lead in an anime. It just kind of keeps going. And it's gotten to the point where I don't know what my life would look like if I didn't start voice acting. I hope I can book all those dream roles down the line, because Fire Emblem started all of that for me. But there's a very simple beauty in just trying to do what you like to. And I know it's a very American thing, especially if you come from an Asian background, where you're like, oh, you want to pursue your happiness over a good career? What is that like? But it really is, because what meaning you derive from life is going to be up to what your personal perception is, not your parents. And it's very morbid, but you have to live with yourself for the longest, not your mom or your dad. And I was really, really unhappy with the trajectory of my life. I feel like my mom often says that nursing is the barely acceptable career for Asian kids, so she wasn't already kind of whatever. But honestly, even my parents were very as supportive as it could be for an Asian parent. And I always tell people who tell me they're interested in the arts, because as an Asian child, you're discouraged from pursuing them. For the most part, I don't want to generalize, but for the most part, you're not encouraged to go into things that don't have consistency, because that's what they're worried about. And I always try to be sympathetic to that perspective as well, because I'm sure my mom had things that she loved to do, maybe singing, maybe dancing, and she had to give it up to pursue higher income careers to raise me, and I never want to shame her for that or insult her for the sacrifices she's made. So I think there can be a balance between what you want for yourself that might not be what they want for you, because it's your life. You really just have to, no matter how much obligation you feel towards that, you have to think for yourself. And it took me 20 years at least to figure something out there, and it took a whole phase of depression, because I don't get depressed very easily, so it took me a very long time to sort that out, and I'm sure I'm still sorting it out, but I'm very happy with where I am now. I'm so happy with this cast. I'm so glad I met people in this cast. I'm so glad I started streaming, because I got to meet even more people, and it's something that leads to more roads is how I view it. I'm sorry, that was a very, very long answer.
No, it's okay.
No, it was beautiful. Honestly.
It was beautiful, honestly. Because
best of luck to you.
Yeah.
We'll be praying for your success.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very much so.
As the saying goes, we'll be watching your career with great interest.
Oh
God,
I'm
that's
glad.
well. Okay, well, yeah, but I have just a little bit more to add to that, because I'm also I'm also an Asian person. Who
I like to say a whole Asian person.
Yeah, yes, I am a whole. No, I'm also an Asian person who, driven away from sciences. I was a microbiologist, and now, because I wanted to pursue my own thing, because I was not severely depressed, but I was really not enjoying my life as it was. COVID did not make that any better. So I started working into streaming, and now I'm like in a YouTube entertainment market right now. It really does come down to it, and I really do resonate with you quite a lot there. You understand that, like, all the things that your parents and your family has done for you are very important is to secure your future, but in the end, you're the one who walks it. That's the path. You have a path you have to take. You got to walk the path that you take. And just because we're Asian does not limit to just us. It just goes for everyone else too. At the end of the day, like, they may have birthed you, they may have raised you, but what makes you walk is your own legs and your own feet.
I think it's a very common story for kids who grew up in an Asian background.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And this game has so many Asian Americans, and I'm sure they have their own versions of that story. But I think ultimately it comes down to, you can't view your parents as your enemy, because an Asian custom and our tradition and our background and our culture, I just can't imagine hating my mother for that. And I try my best not to, because there are just days where I just want her to stop telling me what to do. And even when you're an adult, they still treat you like you're a child. But then I think about, like I said, what did they like to do? I'm sure, like, working in a hospital wasn't her passion from when she was 12 years old going for it. So that perspective really changed it for me, because I used to butt heads with her all the time. She used to take away all of my video games. When I was growing up, I didn't, like, if I turned on Fire Emblem, because that was how I coped with emotions as a kid, is playing video games. And so she would take it away. She would tell me to study, whatnot. And it used to be so bad that she would hide my Game Boy Color away, and I would find it where she hid it, and I would play in the shower, because that was the only place where she couldn't catch me. So I broke a bunch of devices playing in the shower, which is dumb because I didn't have money to buy more, so that was on me for being real irresponsible. But I figured if I spend all of that life into video games, then I might as well make it count, might as well make some money out of it. And playing those games does help you as an actor too. I think the beauty of acting is there's so many facets to learn from. You don't have to just do stage theater and whatnot to get your chops up. There's many ways. Even nursing has helped me, because sometimes I get those I get patients that like really test the emotions there, and I think everything contributes to your acting skill.
Oh yeah, I've always told myself and the others that, like, your parents, you should not be fighting your parents with a sword and shield, but you're more like going in a court, an ace attorney, making sure you have a speech level 100 to make sure that everyone is under the same footing of understanding. And that is definitely harder. It's like like the actual embodiment of the pen is mightier than the sword in all sense of ways.
Yeah, and definitely every situation and every relationship with y'all's parents, everybody has a different starting point, but it's like you said, there has to be, because do you want to go the rest of your life kind of butting head with your parents just because they don't approve of what you do. What worked for me in the end was I showed her how much money I was making.
The
was enough
receipts.
To sustain.
The receipts will do it.
But that really is it, because I understood after it took a very long time, but I understood that her concern was me keeping myself alive when she's unable to, because I used to live off her for a very long time. She's my mother, and so she's a single mother too, so she's very, very, very concerned about that aspect. Wow. So as soon as I proved that this was not only stable, but I was making more and more each year, that's when she started. She's still very like, nursing, go back to nursing, but it's still I think if you can prove to your parents that this is something that, one, you feel passionate about, two, you can sustain yourself with, what's stopping at that point? If they stop you, then you have to ask yourself, do you care about my happiness? Because I've shown you, I've proved to you what can be done. And a lot of parents, a lot of the older generation, careers like streaming, YouTubing, content creation, voice acting, directing, these are careers that didn't really exist 30, 40 years ago. Yeah. There's no way to know the longevity of that career. If I'm 50 and suddenly my voice isn't wanted anymore and I'm on the streets, then maybe she's right. Maybe she has valid reason to be concerned. But until you get to that point, there's no way to know. And then I think she's reached the point where she's tired of talking about it, that she'll just let me do what I want. But it's always nice to have that parental approval.
Of course. Oh wow, that took a long tangent.
The most important thing.
No, I feel very passionately about it, because I have many, ever since being cast for Honkai, because this is the first game I've seen with this many Asian American, like, there's going to be more, I'm sure, but there's so many Asian American actors in this cast, and we get a lot of comments saying like, oh my god, I didn't know. I know Japanese actors are still Asian, but being an American and Suling being a South Asian actor in an American cast, our upbringing is very different, and it's just cool to see how many of us are in an English dub for a game in America.
Well, Eris, stop with the IRO people cry. All right, go ahead, Eris.
Hey man, whenever someone mentions Uncle Iroh, I just have to put it in there.
So many words to live by, indeed. I understand.
Oh man.
Are you gonna keep continuing?
That was generation defining. Right. So, Avatar aside, you talked a little bit about some of the struggles that you had to deal with getting into voice acting. But what have you faced since establishing yourself? What challenges have you had to deal with, and how do you overcome them?
So, the challenge for me is voice acting is very based off your location. So if you want to do anime, you're in Texas. If you want to do video games, you're in... My goal from day one has been to be in Fire Emblem when I first started. I often used to say, like, once I get into Fire Emblem, I can quit because I've made it. But now, after many years of, actually doing voice acting, I'm like, it'd be cool to be in other stuff. But Fire Emblem, because it started for me, that was the one I really wanted. And I didn't want to move to LA for it. I just didn't. I don't know how to get into that goddamn roster, but I've taken a class with the company, or sorry, the studio head, with the director. I've tried my best, but ultimately I don't know how much location plays into it. There has been a lot of discussion lately that the pandemic has opened doors for everybody. Remote, because during the pandemic nobody could record in person, so everybody recorded remotely. And now that the pandemic isn't necessarily completely over, but people are starting to revert back to in-studio only. And if you are in Texas, you're doing anime. If you're in LA, you're doing anime and video games, honestly, because they still have plenty of anime studios there. But my struggle is still very much trying to get into the LA pool of video games. I would really love to audition for those. I don't necessarily think I've overcome this challenge yet because I'm not represented by an agency, but ever since meeting people in Star Rail, like Alejandro, Caleb, Nick, they all give really good advice, and Caleb has recommended me for things before as well, and it's really touching. You always feel like I want to pay it forward to them as well, but you can't because Crunchyroll is text only. There's a lot of strings connecting everything behind the scenes, and it's kind of hard to talk about without bringing up voice acting as a whole with the history of remote recording and whatnot. But I will say Honkai Star Rail's studio, Rocket Sound, has continued to accommodate to the remote actors, and that's why you see such a large remote cast at Rocket Sound. I don't know if going forward it'll still stay this many folks from around, because right, I will say that Rocket Sound and Honkai Star Rail, they are the first ones I've seen accommodate to an international cast, because Suling is based in Malaysia. There's one more who is also international, but I feel like they haven't announced yet, so I'm not going to say anything. But they've done a really good job for that. And remote recording has a lot of issues, I understand, but I think Honkai Star Rail, especially that initial cast, you hear a lot of voices that you typically haven't heard before because a larger amount of people got to audition. I also firmly believe this is why there's so many Asian Americans in the cast, because it's not the same pool that they generally pull from. I said that pool twice, but that's why I believe the cast for Star Rail is so unique, especially the initial few who were cast back in 2021 during the height of the pandemic. The roster they used for auditions is not the roster you typically see for every single LA game or every single Texas anime. I'm really excited because Nicholas Leung, oh my god, I joke and I call him Nicholas Leung and I just let it out. Nicholas Leung is so talented. Emily Sun is Clara, Caleb Yen is the male MC. I hesitate to name anymore because I don't want to like accidentally leave someone out, but they're the ones I hang out with a lot, and I'm so excited for them because this is opportunities that we wouldn't otherwise get. Try not to keep the answer so long.
No, it's completely fine. This is why we're here. This is why we're here, to listen. If we have anything to follow up with you, like interesting in the conversation, that's what we do here. I think you can just stay. I think you can just stay comfortable as is. I think you're doing a great job, and hope we are really good at following up with you. That said, I know we've heard that you said you finally made it if you go act in a Fire Emblem, right? But is there any other games or any other sorts of media or like shows or programs who you're also kind of like, have an eye for? You're like, if this opportunity for this slot lines up, I am jumping in with all my pouncing out the claws at.
Well, I'm never going to say no to anything as long as they're paying fair rates and
yes,
I'm not reprising to anybody else's role. Fire Emblem, because of that nostalgia factor, will always be the number one goal. I will voice anybody, and I will voice the bird in the back if that is what is needed. I do not care.
Chirp.
Anything to be in Fire Emblem.
I will play tree
will practice
number
creature
3
noises just for that.
Just tree.
Yeah, and it's gotten I've gotten to the point where Fire Emblem it feels like such a distant dream for me that I just don't play it anymore because I get really sad. I'm very excited for my friends who do get cast for it, but I'm just like, oh, should have been me. Should have been me. FR. And then
like no offense to the current line of the voice actors, but like you had that moments like I could have done better. I swear.
Oh no! I because I would feel so bad if someone thought that about me, so I try not to think about that.
All right, that's fair. I'm sorry.
I've also gotten to the point where I know most of the actors in our circle, so if I do hear them, I'm like, oh, this is so cool. It's gotten to the point where I'm playing with my friends' voices. And 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when I was just a fan, I didn't know them, so it was like, oh, this is the voice of the character. But now, when I was playing Effie Engage, I heard Diamond. I was like, oh, that's Stephen Fu, and it was really exciting for me. But that's always going to be the number one franchise. I also really like the Fate series. That's one of the ways I got started in voice acting was making my own comic dubs, which honestly I don't consider them good voice acting practice anymore because it's a lot more editing work than actual voice work, because maybe the whole thing has like 5 lines and then you're editing for like 6 billion hours, and I hate that. That's why I stopped doing them after a while too, because there was better ways to practice. It got a pretty good amount of views, but to me it felt more like fan work, but editing fan work rather than voice work. So I personally, I know people still do them for practice, and that's fine, but I personally just did not have the drive to edit anymore. I like Fate a lot, though. I also really like, if anybody is from my stream, they know I like Final Fantasy 14, but I'm never gonna get cast for that because that is cast exclusively in the UK. But I really love that game. I've been playing that game for 10 years, so if I could ever voice in that one, I think I might pass out and cry. And
I could
whatever
not. I could not get into that game because it's way too big.
It's fair. But that one, I think that's why I started playing 14, is because I'm never gonna get cast for it. So I mean, I don't care. I'll play. I won't ever get sad playing that game because there's just no chance. Fire Emblem, I'll play and be like, you sound so good, and then there's a lot of emotions there. Right. I also used to play Arknights a lot, and Caleb's in Arknights, and I really want to be in Arknights too. That one would have been cool. And then Tales. I also really like the Tales of series because I grew up playing that with my other friend. I played Tales of Symphonia, and Tales of Arise is so cool. My favorite is probably Tales of Vesperia, but the Tales of series is really fun. I like that one a lot. There's a lot of room for acting. I like acting in video games because you're not constrained by the lip flaps.
Right.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry about that.
I particularly enjoyed playing with Velvet.
Berseria top 3 for me for sure.
It was so
that performance. Oh my god, Christina V is amazing.
Her so much.
Wow.
Actually, when that game
we had
came
that
out,
one episode about her in the anime, I just died.
Oh, you know, I'm gonna give you guys 5 minutes to talk about this and gush around. Like this is you guys are.
No,
clicking.
I haven't seen the anime, but there's back in my early days of voice acting, I had heard her as one scene where she's yelling at Eleanor, and it was the most. I can't even remember what she was yelling at. She was like yelling at Eleanor for sacrificing somebody or something. And she like goes up to Eleanor and grabs her by the collar and shouts at her. And you can hear like the natural voices that your mouth makes when you're upset and you can't control how angry you are. You can hear Christina V let all of that go. She is such a good actor.
Wait, that's
it was
Christina
such a natural
V?
performance where one thing I really like, which honestly I think the fans might not like, is when the performance is so clearly outperforming what the models are doing. So like, you know, the models in, for example, Final Fantasy 14 or Tales of Berseria, they're expressive, but not quite to human levels. So when you hear the actor go ham, it was amazing. I love when I hear the performance clearly outdo whatever the model just cannot contain all the emotions there. And that scene with Velvet and Eleanor, when she goes up to her and grabs her by the collar and does her little speech that I can't remember the words she says, that one was amazing. That's my favorite scene in Berseria.
Don't remember the words, but it was very good.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I used to take inspiration from that to practice my anger lines. Mm-hmm. Very, very rarely will you have a scene that you can go completely apeshit on.
Actually, like speaking of like, you know, voice acting, it's actually kind of crazy that we have shifted from just enjoying the characters' voices that are acted in the game and to actually recognizing who is voicing who, right? Like because now voice actors have a far better like public face now. Like a lot of people follow the voice actors on Twitter, and voice actors actually became like a factor, maybe not too huge, but is actually a really good like visible factor of players buying games as well.
Really,
it's actually true. I know. I think one of the biggest examples is like I think it's Koi Dao. Like I know that like a lot of interest have been garnered from Koi Dao saying revealing that he's going to voice act in one of the. I don't remember what Kodaka's games, like the Danganronpa series, but not actually Danganronpa, like the same writer and the artist about there. I know, like there's like, you know, top quality voice actors when they're in there and people are like, oh cool, they're in there. Like I want to see at least I want to see what it is, and if I'm interested, I'm buying it. I've seen, especially in Korea as well. Like I've seen that scenario happen so many times. It's great that like voice acting has become, you know, more prevalent toward the public face. But I do have like I guess this is not in the question list, but like I guess this is a more serious topic, and I'm sorry if this is it gets a little too serious, but how has it been for you like in a public presence in on social media and stuff like that as a voice actor, right? Because of course not every voice actor is going to have all positive feedback here and there, but there's always going to be other scenarios where fans are going to be very negative towards you. Have you had that experience, and like have you been coping with that well so far?
So I used to lurk in the Discord
Right.
for Star Rail pretty hard to see what people were saying. Because as we're reaching this generation of actors that actively consume the media that they're in. And in the olden days, it was like stage and theater actors being pulled into anime and video games without really knowing too much or really even having interest in it. They just wanted to be on camera, but this is, a good side hustle. Nowadays, you have people going into voice acting to be in video games and anime specifically. And so I am a very good example of a weeb voice actor where I like to play I don't like listening to myself, but I like playing the games that I'm in, and I want to see the reception, because sometimes people have really good feedback. We try not to let the feedback influence how the performance is done, because that's still up to the director, and I don't want to be like, oh, but this one fan, nameless fan, said that about this, and I don't want to do that during my session. I want to be very clear about what I'm doing going in, and I want to follow the director's instructions. I want to do what the localizer wants me to do, and we just want to keep it up with there. But nowadays, like Nick, Caleb, and I'm sure I know Alejandro for sure, he plays most of his games too. We're reaching that generation where your voice actors are looking their names up on Twitter, are looking for Seele ENVA to see what people are saying. And sometimes it's not super nice, but for the most part, because Honkai isn't as big as Genshin's reception was, just because the scale of the game isn't as big, we haven't gotten to the Genshin's point where the VA says like, this character and this character are cute, and then they get piled onto it and for whatever troublesome theory that they've got. We haven't had any of that. We haven't had nearly as much concern. Occasionally we'll get like, oh, English dub sucks, but for the most part, we have been very fortunate. Every time I stream, everybody's been incredibly kind. The only time I've gotten like a little bit of like, I don't know, like insult to injury is when I rolled for E6 Seele, and people were like shaming me for doing this as the English voice actor, but that wasn't really too much. In the early days, though, there was a lot of comparison between the English dub and the Japanese dub, which I typically disregard those, because to me, both of them are still dubs that reference the Chinese. And so if you're going to compare these two dubs together, like, to me, it's just not. And I would rather, I will read all the ones that's the Chinese and the English, because, the Chinese is the OG. So I want to make sure that if fans are saying that we're not staying faithful, I want to see why. Or I don't know, there's no guarantee that we can change it, but I typically like those comments a lot. But when it comes to the Japanese voice acting, these are very famous VAs, and regardless what kind of performance they give, which 99.9% of the time it's going to be beautiful and perfect, being compared to that is not generally very productive, because I work in anime, and so most of the time people hate the dubs just because it's in English. You'll be surprised how many people hate. Yeah, there's just so much hate for English. And there's also a surprising amount of hate for the Chinese. So...
Yeah. I feel like that's just a byproduct. There was a very big, like, anime cultural shift a few years back, and a lot of people just got into it very, very religiously. And I feel like ever since they've established that Japanese is the only way to do anime. And like there are like valid arguments both ways, because the anime voice acting industry in Japan is huge. It is one of the biggest selling points of Japan.
Huge.
So obviously they have it better. Like they have the process done better over there, right? That's fair. But just completely ignoring other languages, other localizations.
The comedy in this conversation to me is, again, because I work a lot in anime, so the reason subs are the reason that we get that we hear the most, why subs are better, is because that's the original language. But that doesn't cross over to Genshin, where the Japanese dub is still better, even though it's not the original language. So that's the correlation that to me doesn't make much sense. I was telling this on stream the other day, but Daddy Hoyo has paid for 4 language options. Play whatever the hell you want. There is no reason to I don't know, make such a big deal out of that. there's so much hate for English dubs in general, and I'm kind of used to that. So at this point, I don't really care, because at the end of the day, I'm still in the game. It's not going to take away from anything from me. But I feel really bad when the Chinese voiceover cast gets any hate. That to me feels bad, because I speak Chinese too, and I can really critique that performance, and it's stellar. It's a beautiful dub. They've done such a good job with it that I don't know. If you play Japanese, go for it. Just don't you don't have to make it a big deal. It's
not
Yeah,
a
and
competition.
and most people
No,
don't.
you
Most
don't
people
have to
don't
go
make it a big
war
deal.
over.
But the ones who do make it a big deal, it's a very verbal conversation that they like to include
Yeah,
everybody in.
it's a very loud minority
But-
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, honestly, like, it really doesn't matter, because with Hoyo specifically, they did have, like, obviously they're a Chinese company, right? So their games have always been very Chinese focused. You'll notice that especially in Honkai Impact, a lot of the dialogue will have a lot of the dialogue will make a ton of sense in Chinese, but then they'll try to swap that over to other localizations,
Mm-hmm.
particularly in English, and it won't go over so well, because obviously you can't one-to-one the languages.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like Hoyo is taking note of their mistakes and shortcomings across their games and improving upon it, because the way I would say it is, Honkai Impact is pretty much just Chinese and Japanese. There is no English voice acting there. Genshin, obviously, it has all of the languages, but I still feel like the English voiceover in Genshin, while it has gone significantly better, it didn't start out great. But it is a lot better today. And then you go into Star Rail, and honestly, out of the gate, it is fantastic. The game is just
Oh yay!
so well done in English. It is fantastic. I loved it.
I loved
Like,
it too.
I started
Yay!
playing the game. It defaulted to English, of course.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
honestly, I could see myself just continuing to play it in English because of how
Uh-huh.
good and high quality it was.
Yay!
I've-
That's always good to hear.
I've actually
And
started
again, most
playing
of this
Honkai.
cast, they are very involved in Honkai. And I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I'll
Oh, no,
finish
it's
this real
fine.
quick.
No, it's fine.
Um, Another thing is, like, I don't feel like I have the authority to critique I don't feel like I have the authority to critique a performance if I don't understand the language, because when you understand language, all the subtleties, the nuances in people's speech, the natural instincts that people put in behind the line delivery, that translates across much better no matter what they're saying. I listen to Japanese dubs all the time. I'm a weeb, but I don't know what they're saying most of the, like, I can hear it and be like, oh, that sounds like this one line, and it doesn't, I can't give it a one-to-one perfect feedback, or I don't know what they're saying. I don't, the bottom line is I don't know what they're saying. I don't speak Japanese, and even if I do speak Japanese, it's not fluent, and I can't they could be telling me anything, and I'm like, oh, that's so emotional, but I don't know what they're saying. So for me, that's the bottom line. But also, I always encourage people to, if they don't hate the English language, to give the English dub a try, and try to see if it's something that you might be interested in. Because English dubs, again, nowadays, as you were saying, are very different, but also because this generation of voice actors are very involved with the community. We are so excited to do anything that the fans might like to do. So, like, right now, the cast, Nicholas Leung, who voices Dunn, he's already revealed it. We did a cast cover of a certain song. I won't say because it hasn't dropped yet, but we tried to do events together. We like to put covers together. Any of these, like, small community events. If there's enough people in the English dub community, okay, not English dub community, if there's enough people playing Honkai that care about the English dub, there's just a little, I mean, I think it's all fun tidbits to enjoy. If my favorite characters in Fire Emblem did that, I would be really excited as a fan to enjoy that, but you just don't see it very often unless there's a fan base for it. And it's really sad because some of these voice actors are so funny. So using Koi Dao, for example, prior to getting cast for Genshin, he's always been an incredibly charming and very funny person. I was interested in him after he got cast for Fire Emblem Heroes, because again, I really like Fire Emblem. And once he blew up as Albedo, people loved him. He's always been like that. It's just that they need the audience for it. And it's just give it a chance is all I can really say at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
Right.
for sure.
Um,
But see, the other thing about that is, sorry, Eggs, but the other thing about that is, how many of us grew up playing video games that were naturally in English, and how good were they, right?
exactly.
Like there were a couple of mentions in Twitch chat right now, like Mass Effect and Death Stranding, but also I personally grew up playing like a lot of games like the Warcraft series, Mega Man, that kind of thing, and those a lot of those were genuinely just well voiced. So the fact that people are saying you should not be enjoying the English VA period, that's not entirely accurate. Like, there are a lot of cases of good English voice acting. The issue isn't inherently tied to it being in English. It's just, I think it's just how they handle the voice acting, the talent they choose, the voice directing that's in charge of everything. And I'm not talking specifically about Genshin or Star Rail or just MiHoYo in general. I'm talking about like across the board. You can't just go on and hate the entirety of the dub just because you've had one bad experience.
I will also say that my perception of a game's voiceover options or an anime's voiceover options generally is influenced by the one that I see first. So, for example, for Honkai, because people started with Chinese and Japanese, that English one is going to take a really long time to get used to, which is what my concern going into the release of Star Rail was going to be, because a lot of these characters people know as different voices, and I saw a lot of feedback saying she doesn't sound anything like the Japanese voice actor for Honkai Impact Third. So I was like, well, she's very different from her counterpart in Honkai Third. So if you're comparing it to that, that's probably not an equivalent exchange. But whichever, like for an anime, whichever one I'm exposed to first, I don't mind it too much. I hear people say English dubs are so bad, but if I hear it first, I'm like, oh yeah, I really like it. And then I hear the Japanese voiceover, I'm like, oh, I'm so used to the English now. To me, it's not even a matter of skill, because nowadays I feel like the quality of dubbing has gotten up so much that it's
just comfort.
It's just whatever I hear first.
Yeah. I'm
not someone who's like, I need my voiceover to be perfect, and I need to hear like every single actor be 100% what they look like, and if they can sell it to me, I'm sold. But that's no shit. If they can sell it to me, I'm sold. I don't know what I was trying to make a comparison there too, but I mean, if it's an enjoyable experience, if I'm entertained, if I like the performance, I like it. There's really not much more than that. I'm not gonna hate on it just because it's a dub. Okay. If Junichi Suwabe is in the Japanese cast though, I might teeter towards that side a little bit because I really like his voice.
The settings comes on.
Other than that, he's the exception.
I think we all have our biases.
Yeah.
And people have that in English too. Someone in chat mentioned earlier that it's just because English dubbing is a newer scene, newer industry, and I agree with that. It's very much so. I don't think it'll ever eclipse how big Japan's voice acting industry has gotten, but I'm glad people are giving English a chance for sure.
Mm-hmm. And,
you see a lot more of that now.
Yeah, for me,
we have so much English dubs. Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, so yeah, for me, I also like. Eris knows this, but like because I speak two languages and like other languages, I understand some other languages as well. For me, is like I choose what dubs fits like what fits into my ears more than anything. Like if they sound good, then they sound really good. Like I'm not saying I'm not downplaying other languages as well, but it's just what my bias tells me that like I'm gonna enjoy this game much more in this language. And Genshin Impact for me was Korean because I've never. I have to tell you, like the Korean dubs usually tend to be like very wishy-washy between the people, but Genshin Impact is one of those games where the Korean dub just went above and beyond like the quality that we're used to. So we were like, oh my god. But I'm gonna have to put like a little bit more a little true face here, but in Star Rail, the settings on the dub is English.
Yay!
It is legitimately. I've tried both Japanese, Chinese, and Korean and English, and I'm just like, you know what? Nothing fits better than the English for me, at least.
Yay! great. That's so cool to hear. I love when I hear that. And again, whatever language people play on, it never bothers me. It's only like some people will be like, yeah, I like the Japanese, and if that's it, okay, sure. But if it's like the Japanese is better because English sucks, then I'm like, oh, oh, especially the one that hurts the most is when people say X character's voice is so bad in English that I switched to Japanese.
Yeah,
that's the one that really
so
gets
scummy.
me. I'm just like, oh, I've ruined it for everybody.
That's not even a bad thing. That's not being like critical. That's just being scummy, in my opinion.
Again, people are entitled to their opinions. It's just that I see them, so unfortunately.
Actually, following into that, like because there are several reasons why I chose the English dub, but I think I want to preface this with this question, upcoming questions. All right, excluding yourself as a character in the game, who's your favorite character, playable or not, it doesn't matter. So far in Star Rail right now.
Jingyuan, easily. Jingyuan. That man is the best male character design they have come up with in the history of Hoyoverse.
Oh my god, I like how you said that. I like how you said that without a heartbeat. I did not get him, by the way, unfortunately.
Oh no! I told Alejandro when I saw him at a con, and he shook his head and just didn't look at me. I was like, he knows what I am.
I wanted to hear him say "show no mercy," but like I couldn't get that.
Oh, Jingyuan, gosh. I'm not gonna. Nope. Never mind. Carry on. We're not gonna start this. This is bad.
You know what? We'll add our piece onto it. Eris, who's your favorite character in Star Rail? Let's not make Molly Zhang feel alone here. Feel lonely with the takes.
His is obvious by his picture.
Well, theirs is
Okay.
Theirs is obvious.
Yeah. Mine is.
You changed,
Jinglue, guys. Mine is
I couldn't tell.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Who would have guessed?
Oh no.
Right? I'm totally not dying waiting for Jinglue right now, guys.
All right, just realized it has a Jinglue as my wife, and for me is it's Asta.
Interesting.
The other thing is, okay, little fangirling moment here. Just real quick. Do you know how exciting it was to hear that Amelie is voicing Jinglue in the English dub?
Fair enough.
Because I've been listening to her since very early on in her career, so I'm a big fan. And just seeing that announcement,
when she announced, oh my god. Dude, that's a very exciting one.
God.
If we're talking Honkai Star Rail specifically,
right?
I think there's plenty of options that could be discussed. But if we're talking Honkai Impact Third, I like Fuhua the best. I think her design is gorgeous. If I got a question before early in the day where someone asked you who I wanted to voice in Honkai Impact Third, and I was like, Fuhua, easily Fuhua, gorgeous design. She's so cool. I think she's really pretty.
I haven't played enough Honkai Impact to give an idea, but I just know I love Asta in Star Rail. Like again, no offense to you, but
if you look at the picture that's up on stream, I think you would be able to just figure out who my favorite.
Her design is also gorgeous.
Yeah, I love her so much.
Oh dear lord,
she's just the best.
Alright.
If she shows up to Star Rail, I'm going.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Die.
I wonder how many Honkai characters are gonna put in, Honkai Star Rail.
I don't know.
Honestly, I think
quite a lot.
I think there's a lot of ground. Like I have a lot of theories.
I'm also very curious. Go ahead.
Just the fact that just the fact that Seele and Bronya in Star Rail are essentially just one-to-one designs of Honkai Impact characters. Silver Wolf as well, because Haxor Bunny exists. Welt is literally the Welt from Honkai Impact. I think they're going to do a lot of crossing over as a whole, because they've established that pretty early on in the game's life. So I'm very much hoping that we'll get a lot more of the cast.
Interesting. Something I'm very curious about is if they'll have consistency among the English voice actors. So if they add like a character, Retina, who voices Yai Miko, and I haven't played Genshin in a while. It's been a while. And then Anyako, who voices Raiden Shogun. If those characters get added to Honkai Star Rail, I'm really curious if that carries over. I have no idea. I'm genuinely like asking as a fan of the game. I have no idea what'll happen. I hope they do if they ever get added, but
it would be great. Honestly, though, for there are specific characters that I cannot swap voiceovers to, or for. Like Raiden being Miyuki Sawashiro is going to be my number one. Because
really,
I cannot not listen to Miyuki Sawashiro.
And Yako's performance is
I
incredible.
love her so much.
I
It
think
is.
every
Trust me,
language
it is.
nailed that character.
They did. When we saw the trailer for Inazuma the first time, I lost it because of how good the English voice acting for her was.
Oh.
But at the end of the day, Miyuki Sawashiro is my number one VA across the board, so there is a lot of
something
bias
I
there.
think. Yeah, no, something I think that's very underrated about Anne's performance is the Raiden Shogun is she has like a certain texture when she speaks as each version of that character that is something that you can only detect the nuances for if you understand English. I maybe the Japanese does that too. I from what I can hear, no, but I don't know the language. But Anne, when she's talking as the Shogun, it's a very different kind of I almost thought it was an accent because of how different it sounded. And then when she transitions into I don't know the other form. I don't even know what the other one where she talks more casually. That's more in line with her normal performance. She sounds so different, but it's the same voice. And actors not many actors can do what she does, where she's speaking in the same register, same tone, same person, but she's managed to make these performances so different. That's incredible. I don't think people give her enough credit for how good that performance is.
It is genuinely crazy. Like Raiden specifically, because it's essentially two characters in one, it is just fantastic. Like you have the Raiden Shogun, the warrior, the robot, the Archon, just super straightforward, super powerful in speech, right? And then you have Raiden A, the actual person inside of the Euthymia, and they're a lot more casual. They're not like they don't sound like they're going to kill you on the spot, you know, like
Indeed.
But at the same time you can tell that it's the same person, but the personality switch is so, how do I put this? It is so apparent and so nuanced. It is just insane. Like you were saying, every language nailed that VA so well.
It's just, to me, Anne's little swap that she does there, I can only critique it in English because I understand that language. But I think she's probably not. I hate doing this because I love Susie Young's performance too. But Anyako's probably my favorite performance in Genshin. It's just so good. And I will also say she had the most opportunity to demonstrate her range. Most of the other characters don't get, 3 different characters to voice. So I'm a big fan of Anyako and Susie Young. But Anyako's performance as Raiden Shogun was incredible.
Yeah, that's fair.
They did not. They knew. You can tell Hoyo likes that character because all the voice actors for that one are so gorgeous.
She's so
ecstatic.
I can spend hours talking about the Raiden Shogun, but we should probably move on before this ends up being an Eris.
No, nah, it's gonna be a lot of gushing. No, I've already expected this. Don't worry.
I mean, Raiden is my number one character in Genshin, so just
you say that with the Jingliu profile picture.
No, they have a lot of alliances. No, Eris has a lot of alliances for each character. Like, look, I have an obsession with Sucrose in that one in Genshin Impact. Like Asta and Tears as well. Like, there's always a waifu for every single game, or husbando.
You need one of each at least.
Yes,
okay,
one of each. That is the
way of the
respectable. When there's like 2, then we have a little bit of a kerfuffle here or there,
That's when it's become an issue. Okay, I got you.
Speaking of which, what is your favorite Genshin character? Like, who is your number one?
I see 6 Zhongli when he came out.
Oh, Zhongli. I thought you said Klee. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Did you play with Kid Silverstone?
Oh no, he's too famous for me, dude. He's an old school VA. He's been doing this.
No, I mean, like,
before
did
I
you
was-
use his voice acting, or do you use
Oh,
the
oh my
Japanese
god, when I play in Chinese for Genshin because I'm not in it.
Oh, okay.
I only
I see.
recently switched to English because my friend Ben Balmaceda got cast for Kaveh, and my other friend Julia got cast for the cat girl. Kirara. Kirara. I keep
Kirara.
confusing it with the Inuyasha cat, so I keep getting it wrong. But no, I switched to English dub for them because for me, when Genshin came out, it's the first game I have seen get that popular and have Chinese voiceover. So I was so excited for that.
Mhm.
So I played it for the entire time, and I didn't really know the English voice actors at the beginning because they were all LA actors that I'm not too familiar with. So I played Zhongli in Chinese, and his actor happened to be the director, and I loved that. I thought that it was so cool that I got to see what the initial intent was for each of the line deliveries. I think that really helped me understand Hoyo going into Star Rail too, because I did get to speak with the Beijing team, and they did get to direct me directly in Mandarin for a little bit. So that was always really fun, and I don't know. I think again, Daddy Hoyo gave you 4 voiceover languages. Not many games do that.
Yeah.
I think we should all appreciate that fact for sure.
It's actually funny because I think I'm pretty sure you and Keith has like the similar kind of memes of the same voice acting line.
Oh, the osmanthus wine
It's like
thing.
the osmanthus wine tastes the same as I remember.
I think you're gonna hear Zila's line a bit more, unfortunately.
Oh, dude, that's fair. Anyway, let's move it on.
Honestly, I think the best thing about Zhongli's voice acting is that in each language,
They're all
like
good.
the way I see it, they're all good. Yeah, but more than that, the way I see it is that each language portrays a different like
Aura.
So not so much aura, but like you know how Zhongli is a god of multiple different things, like god of the stove, god of war, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
I feel like each different language portrays one of those aspects of his character, right? Like like as Morax, the Archon of Liyue. I feel like each different language just portrays it. And I think to do that is just a sign of great VA skill, and just directing in general, because you have to be able to line that up.
Mhm.
But again, let's not turn the stream into an Eris Simps for several hours. So I think I have one more question, right? And this one was a little bit of a popular one. So there is a trend where voice actors cosplay as their characters. Are you interested in doing that? Would you cosplay as Seele if given the opportunity?
Full gear and everything.
Her design is a lot. She's got bits and pieces of clothing just kind of hanging about. I've seen some cosplayers do it, and I don't know how it's staying on their bodies. Caleb and I, the male MC's voice actor, and I looked at her outfit one time in close detail, and it's just like a bunch of individual parts of clothing that I don't understand how it holds together.
It's true.
For me, if I ever cosplay her, it might be the wig and makeup. I don't know about the rest of her outfit. If I do, because like I mean, typically you wear cosplays to cons and stuff, right? So I don't want to walk around as that. That's a lot. Maybe like 3 more years of going to the gym, and then I'll consider it.
I mean,
but she's got a lot going on.
I mean, you can just like just bring a scythe wig and then just like put different clothing, and you say, "Oh no, Zila's on a vacation today."
Yeah, I might wear something like with more clothing in it, because she's got a lot of pieces there. She's got like a swimsuit, and then the shorts, and then like a one arm piece, and then an armored glove. There's
yeah,
I'm very
the underworld characters in general have that as like a design trend where they're wearing the various bits and pieces. It's very good attention to detail, honestly.
I definitely will look into getting the wig at least. But I would need to go to the gym a lot more to feel confident cosplaying her. She's got too much showing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Honestly, with the way MiHoYo does things, they could probably release some alternative costume art at some point in the future, and maybe that's
I'm curious to see, because I've been told that Impact Third has quite the array of outfits and costumes. So I'm curious what Star Rail will do.
We should,
I can send you some various Seele outfits from Star Rail. A lot of them are a lot more manageable than what we have in Star Rail.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can definitely see that. Anyways,
Okay,
all right. It
I
seems
think
like
we can
yeah,
wrap it up here.
it seems like time is running out for sure for all of us. But I do have no. We had Eric's final question, but this is for like a little bit of like I guess a little survey as well as like a little hope for next time. Maybe if this becomes a more continuous thing. So if you enjoyed this interview and if you want to recommend other voice actors to come over here, like who do you want to see? Like right now, you see on the overlay right now, you have like this giant Molly Zhang titled everything, and it's just us two on the right side. Who do you want? Whose name you want to see there, and whose icon you want to see glow when you like on this podium next time if we have another opportunity?
Well, honestly, I had a really great experience talking with you guys. Like I said, I've had a streak of bad interviews that really turned me off from them for a while. But I really wanted to do at least one Seele interview. So I think with this initial experience over with, I'm pretty confident a lot of the cast would be interested. Specifically, like the ones that I hang out with a lot. So I'm sure Dahen's voice actor, Nicholas Liang, I almost said Lung again. We've been joking with the Lung, and now it's really sticking to my head. But Nick he would definitely be down to do it, I'm sure. If you guys reached out to him, Caleb, I insist you guys grab Caleb, the male MC's voice actor, because he is a treat. He's a joy to have around. I yell at him a lot, but he's a joy. I cannot sell him enough. Emily's son, the voice of Claire, is also a sweetheart. She's fantastic. Bailu's voice actor Suling is also wonderful. If you guys are starting a series, there's options.
Yeah,
those are just the ones that
seems like Caleb was like the number one there. So we'll keep...
I mean, do a poll, see what people want.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? We'll see in the future.
Maybe
Caleb is just very friendly. I'm sure he'll say yes.
Maybe we'll yoink Caleb and bring both of you on for
maybe one day
for a double stream.
One day.
Oh no, that's we'll just we're just be yelling at each other the whole time.
You know,
I'm sure
that'll be interesting. Sure, everyone would find it interesting. Anyways, I think for the official interview parts, that will be it. I will be pausing the recording very soon. But after this, we're going to have just a little bit of a small time with the public questions off the recording. And while we do that, we do have giveaways to give out. So we will give you some Google Play cards that is around the same amount that you would get on the Battle Pass for Star Rail. Molly, if you want to join in, you can join in if you really want to.
Oh, sure.
But as for the official recording, we were going to call it here. So we're just going to have like an official goodbyes right now. So thank you very much. I hope this was our first experience, by the way, for us as well. So I hope we both had a really good experience here, and you know, I've learned a lot from this, and we can only go forward from here. And I hope your future endeavors are also like, you know, would be shining brightly. Maybe just like the illusion of the sea of butterflies. I tried to make sense out of that, but it didn't work out there. But it's fine.
It's okay. I got you.
Okay, no, the meaning was there. Eris, last words for you as well.
Honestly, this was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here.
Mm-hmm.
It was very fun.
All right.
And I feel like we could just end up talking for about a lot.
We
of
probably could have.
Because you did mention Fate, and let's just say talking about Fate alone is going to take.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
This is definitely an interview where we have to stop. To prevent it from going longer.
No, it can go way longer. But you are welcome.
We're already approaching the 2-hour mark.
Yeah. You are welcome to join the voice chats within the KQMHSR servers. Like you can talk, we can talk hours and hours in there, and we actually do. That is just an offer. Molly, on your side, do you have anything last to say? You can plug in anything you want. This is your time. You have the podium to say what you want and like promote anything.
Oh, here. Okay, fun. Thank you everybody for listening to the interview. If you made it to the end of this, wow, thank you. It always is surprising that people are interested in anything I have to say because I talk a lot. If anybody has ever seen my streams, my socials are at Mollo Zhang for everything, MOLLO, and then Zhang for everything, literally everything. I've changed it all to that because Molly was taken for everything. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Twitch. I don't use my Instagram, but it's there. And yeah, I stream no schedule. I just do whatever I want. Caleb and Nick will join me on occasion. Other than that, I'm playing Star Rail most of the time. So yeah, hope to see more people around.
All right.
Also, invite us to conventions if you want to see us at your
yeah.
conventions. We have to be invited to go to them, but we would like to go as a package. Me, Caleb, and Nick, we're pretty good together. But yeah, conventions. That's
Hopefully
not
you
just
guys
us.
get to go.
If you guys want to see your favorite actors or guests at conventions, you are the ones who have the most speaking power. So it doesn't have to be us, just anybody you want. Just keep that in mind.
I'm in
Yeah,
Korea. I
thank
can't
you.
do that. Oh, no.
Oh, never mind.
Send those invites out, people.
Yeah.
You need to. This is on you guys.
This is on you guys. You guys have the responsibility and the power to do so. Anyways,
You have the power.
You have the power. You have what you need to control. Anyways, the official recording will be ending soon. Again,
But,
stay
yeah,
for the last.
big-
We're gonna give like last 15 minutes for the public question while we draft up the giveaway. So,
Yeah, sounds
Sit
good.
Big
Still.
shout out to our friends at
Oh, yeah.
Seele Mains. Cough, cough.
oh yeah, Zeely
Um,
Mains
With-
literally
they,
arranging
they,
this.
they helped. Yeah, they helped with this so much. It could not be possible without them.
Mhm.
So big shout out to them.
If you can like get the link up there for that server, that would be great. But as for now, that will be it for the interview. Say goodbye to the recording for the YouTube guys. So it's well, actually, we can't see the chat, so whatever. Let's all three of us say goodbyes. Like, say goodbye in like 3, 2, 1, and then we'll just cut the recording. All right. 3,
Okay.
2, 1. Bye.